Honey's the daughter, full of bright light. Harry's her dad, guiding her right. Shoulder to shoulder through the good and the bad. Faithful forever, that's Honey and Dad. Sharing their hearts out with stories so true. Laughs, tears, and wisdom, all waiting for you. Rest for the weary, joy for the sad. For the stuff you hold dearly, watch Honey and Dad. Don't miss their show, or you'll miss out on the gold. Faith, family, love stories never get old. From laughter to lessons, they've got it all here. With love in each moment, and faith ever near. Tune in for the journey, the joy and the cheer. Rest for the weary, joy for the sad. For the stuff you hold dearly, watch Honey and Dad. Don't miss their show, or you'll miss out on the gold. Faith, family, love stories never get old. From laughter to lessons, they've got it all here. With love in each moment, and faith ever near. Tune in for the journey, the joy and the cheer. Rest for the weary, joy for the sad. For the stuff you hold dearly, watch Honey and Dad. Honey's the daughter, full of bright light. Harry's her dad, guiding her right. Shoulder to shoulder through the good and the bad. Faithful forever, that's Honey and Dad.
Hey, welcome to the Honey and Harry Show. I'm Honey.
And I'm Harry in the Mr. Producer chair tonight.
Yes, and tonight we have a guest who's somebody that I really, really love, and she's doing me a favor by coming on, but I hope it kind of helps her too. This is Lindsay's mother-in-law, which I consider her family.
Yes.
We have been through a lot together, right?
Right.
We have been, but I truly believe that she is Lindsay's other mom, and Will is her other dad. I mean, y'all are so good to my daughter. I can't ask for better in-laws, and we grandparent together. We do all the fun stuff. But on top of all those wonderful things, Dad, did you read what Mom's writing? I'm sorry. Our feed is stuttering. I don't know what's going on. Hold on.
That's okay.
Okay.
Test it out.
Okay. So Wendy is a realtor. So, when we do the show, we try to think of different things that people are interested in. But like a lot of people lately have been, like, what's the market doing? What's going on with this? What's going on with that? So I was like, I have the perfect person to come on because she's been in real estate for how long, Wendy?
21 years.
21 years. So this is Wendy.
Hello.
Hey, Wendy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So she's been in real estate for 21 years, and I kind of want to just give a little background of like your accreditations. I know she's always, she's like, we're going to baseball games all the time, and sometimes we'll be there. Oh, well, she's selling a house. She's at a closing. She says she never, ever stops. So give us, tell me what accreditations, I know you've been doing it for 21 years.
Yeah, I got started 21 years ago. It was always something I wanted to do.
Yeah, why did you start?
And well, I went to college and I started in interior design,
There
then
you
got
go.
out of it and went to work for an oil company after I graduated. And uh, people would come into my office and I'd say, "Where are you going to live?" And finally, one day, the guy I worked for, the attorney I worked for, said, "I can't imagine, why aren't you selling real estate?" And I said, "Because I really want to watch my kids grow up and be there for them full time when I
Yeah,
can." And so that's what I did. And then when they went off to college, actually, when Ryan went off to college, Will said, "Go try, see if you can do it. If you can't do it, it's not a big deal."
absolutely.
Well, I already knew where all the subdivisions were, and because I
She
was
loves to
just
look at
I
houses, huh?
loved houses. So that's kind of how I got started, by the grace of God. And it took a while, but it was a blessing for sure. It was a blessing.
Good.
So that's kind of how I started.
Good. So what kind of accredited? So I don't know much about the whole real estate. So do you have to get like are you constantly upkeeping with like thing
Right.
tests that you have to take or
You have to constantly take hours each year.
every year?
Yeah, continue and ed is what they call it. And then you can get different certifications. I have a certification. I have the CRS and SRES and the ABR. There are a bunch of certifications that you can take.
Uh-huh.
Um, the CRS is probably my most prominent certification I have, and it requires a lot of experience and a lot of transactions. So it normally takes us a while to get through that one. But anyway, that's kind
Well,
of
good. Well, I know Gammy, I call her Gammy. It's really Wendy, but she is what aren't you usually like the top producer? Because I know I'm on Facebook and I see you're always winning something. I don't know what it is,
well,
but
I'm just at our companies we have top producing agents,
okay.
and so I've been really blessed for all of my career to be in that top producing
Oh
group.
yeah.
So I have been very thankful for that. So,
And so what real estate company are you with?
so I'm with Latter and Bloom
Uh-huh.
slash Compass. Now, Compass is Latter and Bloom is being bought out by Compass.
Okay.
And so within the next few months, we are totally transitioning to Compass,
Okay.
which is here in Baton Rouge,
Okay.
Lafayette, and it's actually the main office is out of New York. They're
Oh wow.
known for
Really?
lots of technology, so there's a lot of changes going on at our office, and we have access to a lot of the most cutting edge technology there is for real estate, which is a really nice thing to have.
Well, I'm sure you've seen it change so much through the past 21 years you've
Yeah.
been doing this.
Yeah, it's changed a
And
whole.
prices and everything. I know before we started, I was out today and I was, just I was at a Emerge trying to get Emerge to come on because we really want to have Emerge on. And one of the things that the lady was saying was like, can you get her to explain what's going on in the market? And so I kind of want you to kind of talk about that because I know we were saying how we had such like we'll probably never have that 2.5 again.
Yeah.
Um, but kind of explain to me because it makes sense when you tell me it's like maybe you should be buying a house now.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the 2.5% interest rate really spoiled everybody. I mean, it was kind of like a unicorn out there. Um, the unfortunate part is that a lot of people paid way too much for a home because we had multiple offers, a shortage of homes, and the interest rate was so low. So, it caused a lot of people to get spoiled
yes,
because
yes.
they got a lot of money for their homes.
Hmm.
And now I feel like really a 6 or 7% interest rate is really not a high interest rate versus what we've had in the past before the 2.5%. But
Hmm.
again, it's hard for people to get used to that idea of a regular interest rate.
Well,
Um,
no, but that's what I was telling her before. Dad, are we having trouble with the thing? I keep somebody saying that we're cutting in and out.
That's old.
Oh, that's old. Okay, I'm sorry. No, but when we were saying before, when I bought my first house, being a first time home buyer, my interest rate, which in that you're supposed to get the best one
Yeah.
then, and we had great credit, all the things. We didn't had no debt hardly, and it was 6.5.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we thought that was a
Thought it
good
was great.
that was a great interest rate. We had just never and like Dad, what did you say yours was?
9. It
9.
was
Yeah.
9.
You said yours was
Was 18 for my
so
first
there you go.
place.
So it's like I guess we got so spoiled.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell y'all this too, and I'm sure this was happening for you when all that was going on with COVID. I was having people, realtors, call me and say, "Oh, I can sell your house for this much money,"
Right.
and it was like this obscene amount of money. But then my husband was like, "Well, where are we going to go?"
That's exactly right. And I think that's what happened to a lot of people.
Yeah,
Many people sold their homes because they felt like it was a huge profit.
yeah,
But then when they went out there to go buy another home, it really didn't justify the move, even though they did make money on their
it
house.
didn't. You're right.
So there was a lot of challenges out there. So I think right now everybody keeps waiting for the interest rate to go down. And I think it's going to go down some. I don't see us seeing that low of an interest rate again. But if you purchase a home right now, I always tell my clients it's a better time to purchase right now, because if you purchase now, you're not overpaying for a house.
100%.
You may be able to bargain or negotiate with the seller.
Absolutely.
You may be able to get them to pay some closing costs, come down on the price a little bit. And then when the interest rate does drop, then you can refinance your house. Whereas if you wait till the interest rate drops to a place where everybody's comfortable, everybody's going to be, bidding for the same house, overpaying for the same house. You're not going to be able to negotiate with the seller in any way. So if you need a little help with closing cost or reduction in price, that'll be more challenging to work with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And see, what we did when we had that low, we just refinanced our house.
That's right.
So now we have that 2.5,
Yes.
and we don't have that much longer to pay on our house. So that's how but we didn't, but the houses, even if we would have made more, we were going to be paying more,
Right.
so that's how that
Right.
worked. So I kind of wanted you to kind of tell us, what does a realtor, because we were talking earlier too. I know when I went to sell my house for the first time, I said, "Oh, I can do this. I'm going to put the for sale by owner." And I got this packet full of all these documents that was overwhelming. And, we didn't know what we were doing. And then I was just like so attached to my house that I was not a good realtor for my own home. So I hired a realtor, and literally my house sold within a month, like so quickly. I
Yeah.
did. But so kind of tell us why it's so important, because I think some people think, because I had that attitude too first when, of course, that was my first time selling a house. I thought, oh, this can't be that
Yeah.
hard, but it is that hard,
Yeah.
and you have to know things. And so kind of go over that.
The market has a lot to do with it, but some people are really good at that and they can do it themselves. And I always tell my clients, if you'd like to try that first, have at it
Hmm.
if that's what you want to do. But, we do bring some things to the table that people kind of take for granted. It's a job like any other career.
It is.
So, and experience really helps. If I go to visit with someone about a listing, I normally will, sit down, visit with them about the process and what goes on. And then we talk about what's going to need to be done to their home. Like 85% of our population is visual. So
Uh-huh.
if they can't see it, they really can't envision it.
Hmm.
So I usually hire a stager to come in and give some ideas about how we can make this house decluttered. We also will maybe suggest to them to do new paint, maybe new lighting, remove some of the personal items, not all of the personal items. A lot of people will go into a home and they'll say, well, we always heard that we weren't supposed to have personal items, but you got to have some personal items, because if you take them all away, then the house just becomes too stale,
Yeah.
it's too
Yeah.
sterile.
Yeah. Totally.
So, you want to have professional pictures done. You want to understand documents. The other thing is that most buyers don't like negotiating with the seller personally.
Yeah.
You don't want to offend anyone.
Yep.
if you're going to negotiate price, you want someone to be doing that
A
for you.
100%.
So there's a lot of different things that we can bring to the table that you as a seller are going to have more of a challenge with because it's not your job every day.
Yes, no, absolutely. And then on the other side of it, and I'm going to get more in depth than what you
Okay.
just said, but on the other side of that too, it's when you are looking for a house, and you're not to say that you're not, but when you want to go buy a house, y'all have access to all the houses that are for sale.
Yeah.
So, and you want to know what area, y'all can go and find, I'm sure, much faster than I can just
Or
looking on one of those websites and saying, "Oh, here's a house,"
right,
and you can make the appointment. Don't y'all do all that? Because
right. We make all the appointments
y'all do all
and
that.
all of that also. And also, when you have an agent with you who has some experience and you go into a home, you're thinking about how you're going to resell that house for your buyer when they give it back
Okay.
to you in the next 5 to 7 years, or maybe
See?
sooner. Like most of the time, that first time home buyer
Oh,
needs to purchase a home that is going to resell really well, because that second home is the home they need their profit from to be able to purchase. So we may have to talk about not just today and what we're purchasing, but what are we purchasing for the future
yep.
so that we can make money on it. And location is going to be number one. So that means that if we're in a um, demanding location, we may have to have a smaller home. We may pay a little bit more money for it. But in the end, our appreciation value is going to be greater in the future
Yep.
for us to make money on it.
No, I mean, and or be a little bit older.
Or be a little bit older, or a lot of times buyers can't really think about what they're looking at. Like, I'm not concerned about it maybe needing to be repainted,
Mm-hmm.
or it needs new flooring or new appliances. Those are things in time that you can take care of. I'm more concerned about your roof and your AC
Yeah.
and your foundation. And do you have huge trees in the backyard that you're going to have to spend money on cutting? Or is it going to affect your plumbing or your electrical? Those are the things that are very expensive to change. So those are the things that we're looking for in a home. And sometimes as agents on the on the listing side, we're making that house beautiful because again, most of the time when the buyers are coming through it, they're more concerned about the layout, how the house looks. They're really not thinking about the things that are a bigger expense. And do they have money to change those things later?
No, I mean, you've helped, I mean, obviously all of our kids, but, just thinking about that, that was one of the things, even, the roof. I never thought about the roof. I
Yeah.
never thought about the air unit.
Yeah.
Like, why? And you just said the trees. And like, I have trees in my backyard that have to be cut down. And I just want to tell you, they're going to be a fortune
Yeah.
to cut down. So they're not being cut down right now, by the way. But,
Or the flood insurance.
or the flood. Yeah,
Like
I mean, there's so many.
sometimes you can get a home for a cheaper price, but you also are going to have flood insurance that is required on the house. So there's just a difference between required flood insurance and you just have the choice of choosing flood insurance.
Yeah, yeah. But everybody, don't you think everybody should in Louisiana?
100%. Everybody should have flood insurance. But if it's not required, it's cheaper than if it's required.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when it's required, that's, if you have a mortgage, it's required. And when they decide to go up on it, whenever they choose, you have really nothing to say about that. It makes your note go up.
Really?
Yeah. So you just got to bear all that in mind when you're thinking of purchasing that. Plus, when you go to resell it, some people won't purchase a home that is in a required flood area.
I wouldn't.
Yes.
That was one of the things I did not want
Yeah.
is a house in a flood zone. I said, no way.
Yeah.
We're not even, don't even take me to look at something like that.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. So yeah, you have a team though that works with you, right?
Yeah, I have referrals and I have a team of people when we get ready to list a house.
So yeah,
you
what
know,
do you tell us that? Like, I know that you do. You do have like somebody that does things with you. So tell
yes,
us a
I
little
have
about.
like an assistant who works with me full time.
Okay.
Praise the Lord for her. She's been with me for like 13 years and she does all of the social media, all of the tech stuff. So that allows me to be able to be out there with people more. I'm really
No, that does.
I think in real estate you have to decide what your feel like you're confident in and what you feel like is not really your the best thing for you, and you hire out for those things. That way you
Absolutely.
can concentrate on what you're really good at.
Yes.
And I much rather be out there with buyers and sellers than sitting at a computer, doing a lot of the social media and a lot of the technology things to
Yeah, I
do.
wouldn't want to do that either.
Yeah,
No.
but listen, there are many people that love that part of it.
Well, no, and I mean,
It's
and I follow you on the social
Mhm.
media, and she does an amazing.
She does an
Oh my
amazing job.
gosh,
She
all
does
the stuff is so good,
yeah, she
and
does an
all
amazing
your
job.
houses you can, and the way does she take the who takes the picture? Are you taking those
I have
pictures?
a fabulous professional photographer who takes the pictures.
Oh,
And
really?
then when she takes the pictures and the videos, she sends them to Emily, and Emily sets up all of the social media and puts it in the MLS and does all that
It's
with
a lot.
yes. And so we're really particular. Pictures make a huge difference in a listing.
It
And that's another
does.
thing that people forget about. When we go in to take pictures with the photographer, I'm particular, really, really particular about pictures. I don't like wire showing. People don't realize the things that tune them out immediately. But
Okay.
if there or any type of wires that are showing from any type of appliances, if your countertops are cluttered, we try to eliminate all of that so that we can get the best pictures that we can, because people just when you think about it, when you're looking on the internet at a home,
Hmm.
the first 2 3 pictures,
You're done.
if the lighting is bad, if
Hmm.
it's cluttered, well, you're out.
Yeah, I'm
So
done.
you're
I can tell you in 2 seconds if I like the house. The minute I swipe
yeah,
and I see the front of the house, I'm like, oh, this is a cute house. And then I'll look to the next thing and I'm like, don't
I'm
like
done.
it. Yeah,
Yeah. Or the front entrance. People also don't realize how
yes.
important the curb appeal is of a house.
That's huge, isn't that?
They'll
That's
spend so
huge.
much time on the inside of the home, fixing it up, decluttering, and then I tell my clients, I don't care if you never touched your flower beds. You need to hire somebody or get out there, get your flower beds looking really nice. Your front door, we all have pets and animals. When they jump up on your door
Oh,
and
I
everything
know.
is kind of, yeah, I mean, which is normal. We all have
I
that.
know, but
But
that
when you're trying to sell your house, you get about 15 seconds to impress someone at the front door. If the door is dirty, the threshold, the porch, if your flower beds are off, it makes people unconsciously think, well, these are the things I'm seeing that aren't really well taken care of. What about the things that I can't see?
100. I know. I think that.
100%.
I do
Or
think
if
it.
you open the door and it smells, an
Oh,
animal, and
yes.
that is really a big thing lately. I mean,
Because I know everybody has animals now, but like I had animals too, and you did too.
yeah,
You had Lucy, but I mean, you would have never known I had an animal in my
yeah,
house. I
yeah.
was constantly,
I think what happens is we live with that smell. So we don't really realize,
that's what it is.
that when people come through, that people are going to smell that. We've just gotten so used to it.
Hmm.
Lighting is another thing. When you
Lighting.
walk through the front door, some people keep all of their blinds or their curtains closed. That's really important for the subconscious to know that you definitely have to have natural light coming in. If you don't have natural light, you're already out again. It's kind
Yeah.
of like smell, kind of like the curb appeal. Those are some things that are almost unconscious. You just you don't know why you don't like this house because you thought you really were going to love it,
But
and
then
then
you
when you
don't.
walk in it, you can't really figure out what happened.
No.
I had this client, this seller one time. This is a story that I'll always remember. Early on, I went to take the listing, the house. We got it all nice and straight, and everything looked great. We kept getting this response that the house had a smell from buyers' feedback. So I called her up and I said, I every time I go to your house, I don't smell anything. Normally I would go in the afternoons. I said, I'm not getting what people are talking about. And she said, I really don't know what they're talking about.
Oh my gosh.
So we went through the process of in the morning. What does she do in the morning? I thought maybe it was something she was cooking, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, so she goes through the whole process and then she tells me she takes her vitamins and she opens her capsules and she pours in, she throws the capsules that or empty afterwards in the trash.
Oh, so that makes it stink. Yeah,
So it
vitamins are
made it smell the vitamins. It
yeah.
was a total turn off.
Well, yeah, the vitamins smell. I mean, all my vitamins stink.
Yes. I mean, it's not usually a very good smell.
No, but
So
that's
she
something
started
that's simple.
removing the trash. We sold the house. It went under contract within the next few days after we
Really?
figured out what was the issue.
Oh my gosh. So this is one of the questions I wanted to ask you. So say that somebody's like, okay, I want to come buy a house. What's the first thing when you call somebody calls you and says, I'm looking for a house. I want to buy and I want you to sell my house. Or if they want to, what do you have to do if you're like, even if you're just like you're going to look to buy a house. Let's do the buying part first, because like I'm going to look to buy a house. What do I need to have maybe before I come to you, or can you like guide me in a
Right.
direction maybe where I can go get pre-qualified? Because sometimes buyers don't know.
Right. And so
You don't
that's
know
the
who's the
first step.
lenders,
You
you
know,
know?
that's the first step is to get pre-qualified. Even before, sometimes I talk to them about a prospect feature where we can set them up on a search in a certain area with the amenities that they would like to see in a home, or maybe the square footage or the area. But even before we do that, I like to see them pre-approved, because then that gives us an idea of what price point we want to look in. Then
Oh,
that's going to
well, it's not
determine.
wasting your time. You know what I mean? Because
Well,
like you
it
wouldn't even know where to look if I said, "Oh, I want this house and it's 500,000, but I'm only approved for 200."
right.
You know
Or
what I
they
mean?
start to panic. We
Yeah.
find the perfect house. We know it's
Yes.
going to sell quickly. We walk
Absolutely.
in it and they say, well, I kind of pre approved myself online.
Mhm.
Well, then they start to get nervous because they really haven't visited with a professional in the market, in the
Mhm.
mortgage world, to be able to know where they're comfortable. And there's some big differences that, I mean, I just had a little buyer a couple weeks ago, and she had originally told me she could. They were first time home buyers, and they were going to spend 250,000. Well, after she visited with the lender, I said, don't just ask her what you both can qualify for. Ask her to, if you have a number that you, because they were used to renting.
Mhm.
So I said, if you have a number that you don't want to spend more for with a mortgage each month, that's what we want to know. We don't necessarily want to know what you can spend, because we know if she tells you your debt to income is such and such and you can go out and spend $250,000, but you don't want your note to be more than $1,500 a month, then you need to know how much money you need to put down so that your note is only $1,500 a month. And you might not have that.
See, that's so good that you tell people that, because like what you get approved for
It's totally
is
different.
completely than what you can afford a lot of
Right.
the times, because you have if you have kids, if you have tuition, if you have car notes,
Right.
you want to go
Right.
to eat out on Friday night. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Just there's
It's
so
house
many.
poor.
I'm so glad. Yes, and I'm
We
so
don't want
glad.
to be house poor.
Nobody wants
Wants
to
to
be
be
house.
house poor. You still want to be able
But I'm
to
glad you're
enjoy.
honest about that with your
100%.
clients, because it's
100%.
like I think, I'm sure you've seen that on the other side, people selling their houses that they can't afford
Yes.
because
Yes.
they think, oh, I can. But like it's all fine and good when you're excited about that big house, but I always say a big house is nothing but a big house note.
Yeah. Well, and it's not, even if you get a deal, the
Mhm.
other thing is, even if we get a deal on a house,
Yeah,
okay, we still have to, and let's say it's bigger than you really want,
yeah.
you still have to pay more taxes and insurance and heat and cool that property, change the roof. So even if you get a good deal on a home that's bigger than you really thought you wanted, think about all those things. Can you afford that?
Mhm.
So honestly, in today's market, I always suggest to my clients, purchase what you need, not what you think you have to have, but what do you truly need to be comfortable
No,
so that you
I
can
mean,
still do those other things we talked about.
you're so right. And I could think of a certain situation where we were looking at houses and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, thank God for
Yeah, it's just it's an
for your knowledge,
it's an
should I say.
enlightening experience, and
But
my
you do it
heart is
every
really
day.
big
I
for that
know.
first time home buyer. Although I can sell you $1 million homes, that first time home buyer is like a little sponge, and most of the time they're really trying to understand the process and to think about beyond just maybe being newly married or having their first child, wanting their first home. They're so excited. They've been saving for a long time, but it's beyond that. We're trying to think of how can you not only afford this house, but how are you going to maintain this house? What kind of resale value are we going to get in it? Does it have a nice floor plan that we're going to be able to resell? Not just work for you, because a lot of people like an open floor plan, but is that the best floor plan to sell? It always
Yeah.
looks bigger.
It does, and that happened to me with my house. I walked in and I was living in a small house, and my little house was choppy. And I remember walking in thinking, oh my gosh, I have a big open floor plan. This is great. Until my husband was watching TV and I was washing dishes. And I was like, this ain't so great. Yeah.
That's exactly right. That's
So
exactly
you have to, I mean, it's good to have the not like somebody kind of guiding you through
right.
with all those things. And you're being honest. You're not just trying to sell the house.
Right. Right.
No, and I know that you truly care about your clients. I
100%.
know you do. I know
And,
you do.
the backside of that is if you take care of people, then they're going to appreciate that. They're going to refer you to other people, and they're going to call you back when they want their next house
Because you
because
get
they
tons
really
of
trust
callback,
you.
don't you? And referrals.
100%.
You
Yes.
get a lot of that.
Yes.
I
Most
know.
of my business is all people that I've already sold a house to, or I
Word
was
of mouth.
referred.
Yeah,
Yes.
word of mouth.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
what's the best time? Like, if you're going to buy a house, what's the best time of year to buy a house
The best time of the year
and
to
sell
buy
a
a house
house?
or to sell a house, to actually sell a house, the best time of the year is the spring and the summer.
So
And
right
that's
now.
because you have longer days,
Mhm.
the flowers are blooming, the trees are green, the grass is green. People are going to baseball games or have activities after hours, but they get to walk after dinner. I mean, so
Mhm.
there's a lot of advantages to to selling in the summertime.
And it's before school starts
Yeah.
too, don't you think? Like it's
Yes,
the end of
before
the school.
school starts, they
Yeah.
may have to change schools. Now, as a buyer, sometimes you get a better deal in the fall
Oh,
and
okay.
or the winter, and that's because there won't be as much for sale. So your selection is not as great, but most people are not putting their home up for sale in the fall or the winter unless they really need to. There's a lot of holidays going on. The
Mhm.
the the days are short. It's kind of dreary, so sometimes you can get a better deal because the people that are selling usually have to sell.
Mhm.
They may be relocating somewhere. They may have found a property they've been waiting for a long time. They may be changing jobs. So there's a lot of reasons that the wintertime you don't see as many listings as you do in the spring and the fall. I
And
mean, the
see,
spring
yeah,
and
and
summer.
me being so uneducated with the whole real estate thing, I was like, "Oh, we're selling our house. We're going to move. We found this house we like. We're going to blah, 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 whatever." And we did it right during Christmas when I had my Christmas tree. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Like just not, just typical me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's another thing you'll get advice
You
about.
know?
If you visit with a realtor, call somebody in, visit with them about, what you think your property, they can tell you what you think their property is worth, how much do a CMA for you to kind of get an idea of what they could get for it, whether it would be worthwhile for them to do, or whether it would be better for them to wait a while till they had, a little bit more equity in their home. So
Absolutely.
there's a lot of benefit to visiting with a realtor if you're thinking about selling your
Oh,
home.
100%. And now the other thing I want to ask you when you go to closing, because I know the 2 times I've ever been to a closing, I was thanking God I had a real estate agent there because it is so many papers you're signing. And not that, I mean, and look, the title company or whoever they're great at all that, but it's just nice to have your realtor there. And they told us what we were going to need,
Yes.
even though the title company did, but you just kind of trust your realtor
Yeah. Yeah.
with
I
everything.
think today we kind of have tried to improve that a bit. We can
But
do
this has been a long time ago, though.
well,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
can do like a net sales sheet to kind of give you an
Yeah.
idea, of what you're actually going to come out with at the end of it,
Really?
after you pay all the things that you need to pay. Um, we can kind of give you a bottom line there. It's an estimate, but it gets you an idea of whether that's something that is of interest to you.
Hmm.
And if you're going to make enough money on your house, if we sell it at, whatever the market is selling for at that
Yes.
time, we can kind of give you an idea of that.
Yeah, because I think I mean, I was 20 years ago when I did mine,
Mhm.
and I mean, we kind of knew. I mean, our realtor was like, "Okay, you're gonna need this, this, and that when we come." And then I think we were doing it like selling our house
And
and
purchasing another home,
at the
maybe.
same time.
Yeah, that's another, yeah,
So yeah,
that gets to be a little challenging in the last few days. And that's
but I'm
another.
glad I wasn't in charge of that,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know?
And sometimes, again, in a market like we have right now, you will see where people will accept a contingency. In other words, you're trying to sell your property
Hmm.
at the same time you're trying to purchase another property. When we have a market that there are a lot of buyers and not that many sellers, you don't see a lot of sellers taking a contingency. So, in other words, if you can't purchase that new home before you sell your other home, you're not going to get that home because there may be another buyer who doesn't have to sell their home first.
Uh,
You see?
okay.
So, again, the flexibility of being able to
Okay.
negotiate.
It just worked out for us.
Yeah,
How crazy.
yeah.
No, because that's true. I never because we definitely needed the money.
To go to your next house.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
We
majority
we
of the people
yeah.
do need that,
That's what that was our down payment.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that
I
was
mean,
our
we
down
didn't have
payment.
the money saved. Yeah, but we figured, the equity in that house.
Would go to the next
Yeah.
house.
And so
Yeah,
that was I know that was a complicated. It was very complicated.
yeah,
I remember
yeah.
that being, and I think it was. I mean, my realtor. I mean, I had
Mhm,
two of them
mhm.
working together, and they
Yeah,
were rock
absolutely
stars. They
trying to make that work.
trying to
To
make it
make it
work
work
for and
because it was a domino effect.
and I think the people we were selling it to were kind of getting aggravated. So I
Mhm,
think they were kind of
mhm.
everybody was working
Together
together,
to
and
help
I
it to
think with
work.
their agent too, right? So you work with the other agents
Right,
too.
right.
And also tell me, because I know you did this too for Austin. But for my son, you gave us an agent here
Right.
that could work with them because you were saying you just didn't know our area,
Right. And now we have the ability to work in different areas. Like if
which is
I'm from
good.
Lafayette, I'm definitely can show a house here. My deal about that is if you're taking care of your client, just my own personal feeling about this, and I don't know your area, you would be better served by an agent in the area
Hmm.
who's experienced, knows the location, knows the best areas for you. Um, knows what the resale value would be in that area. So we can refer you to an agent in those areas. So
Yeah, and
that's
y'all all
another
kind of
option.
know each other,
And
don't y'all?
we all pretty much, it's multi-listing, everything. The great thing is now everything is in the MLS. So we can see those properties,
Okay.
so that is another great thing that we have access to
Yeah.
lately.
No, and that really helped my son because they were
Hmm.
looking to buy a house, and they were talking to you, I think,
Yeah.
about it one
Yeah.
day. And
We
next
got a
thing,
great, yeah, we
yeah,
got an experienced agent in the area to help them who's really awesome here.
yeah.
So I thought that was they purchased in a really good area for
Oh,
resale value, and
it's very good area
yeah,
for resale
yeah,
value. I mean, he already has equity.
yes,
Yeah, and he has a new roof.
good,
And I think his air unit wasn't old.
yeah. You
Although,
know,
and I know that sounds so silly to people, but like I never thought about that.
yeah, it's great to have, again, a first time home buyer. It's important because most of the time they don't have a huge amount of money to work with after they purchase their home.
No,
So a roof these days can be very expensive,
I know.
even on a smaller home. An AC is really expensive. And all of those other things we talked about, can cost them out of pocket money
Yeah.
once they purchase the home. So yeah.
So if I'm gonna okay, and I just have a question. This is a question. If I was gonna sell my house, or if I really want, what if I could redo a room? What's the most important? What sells a house? How about that? Like,
Yes.
what's gonna be the things that people look for that you see? Because I have no idea what people are looking
Well,
for.
a kitchen is major.
Kitchen's
Okay.
huge.
Now, no one cooks today,
I know. That's
which
just
is so amazing.
so
But we're
crazy.
so southern here. We just love a big kitchen for people to gather around
Mhm.
and just visit in. So a kitchen is probably the most popular room to renovate or to update.
Yes.
And then like your master bedroom, master bath area is another very popular area. The most used room is the living room. So again, that is a very popular space because I mean that's where you can spend most of your time.
No, you are.
I do find in the South that we love outdoor kitchens.
Outside, see, and I love, see, you redid a house, and
Yes.
I absolutely, I always say, I mean, I would be at your house every day if I lived in,
Yeah, it
it's,
serves as another living room.
it
It serves
is,
as
and
another
you have
living
the
room.
glass that it's almost like an extension. Like when I go to your house, I feel like that's another room
Yeah.
out there. So it looks like it's an extension of the
Yes.
house.
Yes.
So that, I mean, outdoor kit, that's like a big thing
It's
now.
a very big thing,
I love
and
it.
I think my biggest thing about an outdoor kitchen for people to remember if they're thinking of putting one on their home is don't come directly off your roof. Come, go up higher than the roof that comes off your living room or the back part of your house. Go up because sometimes when you put an outdoor kitchen and a really nice patio on the back end of a home, I see way too often where they just carry it straight out. And then that cuts your light inside your home. So just make sure
Oh,
when you're
okay.
thinking about doing that, that you're thinking about how high can you come if possible, so that it doesn't distract from the amount of natural light that comes into your home.
So that's why yours is up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. It wasn't up. You didn't have anything
It wasn't,
before.
yeah, it wasn't up before that. So
No. Okay. I
we renovated all of that.
So
So
all that is up. So you don't even notice. I
yeah.
mean, I notice it. I mean, I know you did it, but like, I guess because it looks like it's supposed to
Yeah.
look. You know.
And in a new construction, you won't have that issue so much. That's going to just be in a
Is that
renovation.
standard like the new?
Yeah, almost every new home within a certain price point will have an
Yeah.
outdoor kitchen or
Seeing that
some type
lately,
of outdoor
or
space.
something, some
Some
type
type.
of outdoor space. It may
Yeah.
not be what but it's something.
Yes.
I feel like
Yes.
everybody's doing that.
Everybody has it. And a pool is another thing that when I first started in real estate, it was more of a deterrent than it was of a positive. And today,
Oh, a pool
yeah, a pool
was
because,
a negative.
was more of a negative just because people had small children. They were more concerned about the children. They didn't want the upkeep of the pool. There were a lot of negatives to a pool. Over time, we've learned how to put fences that can be removed around the pool.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
can take those out whenever they get old enough to where you don't need those anymore. And it's extremely expensive to put a pool. Whereas if you can find a home that already has a pool, it's a benefit.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I do find that has been one of those things that has changed over time. So
I wanted a pool so bad.
yeah.
FYI. For dad, my dad, we have the biggest backyard, and my dad doesn't like to mow grass. Dad, and he's
I
Mr.
love to mow that grass. Yeah.
Safety man, and he would refuse to put in a pool, and I was just like, well, that was your loss because you could have kept track of me in high school
Yes.
because I would have had my friends here.
That's
Well, we
exactly
had a pool next door, right?
Well, yeah, but so that I wouldn't got in trouble other places. But anyways, so you do. So I wanted to ask that too. I had to look at a few things, but open houses. How did that? Like, do you really get a lot of traffic during open houses? And do a lot of people, like people who come to open houses, do they buy houses from
Well,
open
now
house?
it is more of a popular thing these days because people can visit open houses without having to sign a buyer's agreement. Okay, when you hire a realtor now, you have to the realtor is required to have you sign a buyer's agreement saying that they can be negotiate payment of their commission. That can be negotiated within the contract or they will be responsible for it. Okay, so a lot of people are uncomfortable with that process. We've really tried to work hard at helping people understand that it is just part of the process now.
Yeah,
It always changes and it's just part of the process
you do it
now.
all the time.
I do it all the time. But when they come into an open house, they don't have to sign anything.
Oh,
They can come and look at whatever they want to look at. I do feel that it allows them um, to not feel like they're responsible to any particular person or realtor.
you
They can
just
just come and look and get an idea of what they think.
no pressure.
I actually started my career on open houses.
Really?
I did 2 open houses every Sunday for 8 years, without a doubt. It was a working day for me. And that
Really?
is where I got the majority of my business was open
Really?
houses. I did it very unconventional. I never asked anybody's name, what they were looking for,
Really?
or um, I just really kind of talked about the house, kind of walked them through the house, if they had any questions about it. And it was amazing how many people called me back to get me to help them after that. I didn't even know, I hadn't even taken their names. So
Really?
everybody can work that differently. Some new agents that start out like to do phone duty, where they talk to people on the phone and they work that way. For me, it was just better one-on-one. So for 8 years, that's what I
It's
did
a long time.
every Sunday.
Every
Every
Sunday.
Sunday. And that's what I tell the new agents. If you want to start a business, now you're going to have some days where no one's going to walk through. And many buyers are going to already have agents. And many people just come to look. It's
Yeah.
just a hobby that they have. But you very possibly can get someone who really is connected to you
Mhm.
and will call you after that open house and say, "Hey, I met you yesterday. It just happened to me a couple months ago."
Really?
Yeah. So it does happen.
That's
So
so great. And that's because I know, like, you think, oh, real estate, it's so easy. You can make so much money. And it's not always that. And I mean, just knowing you and hearing, how much you work, and you can show a house a million times and may go buy it from somebody else. I know you've told me that before.
yeah.
And how
Yeah.
much money you put out personally.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think when you go to decide to be a realtor, you have to really think about the process. It's not an overnight process.
Oh no.
And today it's one of the most competitive careers that there is out there. There's an overabundance, in my personal opinion, of realtors because everybody thinks that it's going to be an easy thing. And if you really sit down with someone who's really going to give you the skinny on what really needs to be done, you need to have like a 6 month um, reserve of money. You have to know whether someone else is relying on you, to pay the bills because you might not sell a house for 6 months.
No.
You
And,
know,
and
um,
you have to, and don't you have to pay for all your own
you have
advertising?
to pay for all your own advertisements, or you need to know how to do all the technology yourself. You have
Because
to
you're paying people to do all
because
this
you're
now.
yes.
Yeah.
You also have to remember that when you take a listing from someone, you have to have pictures taken, professional staging. You're going to spend a lot of time and money on that listing to help your seller be best represented. And if you don't have the funds to do that, how are you going to do that?
Yeah.
Or if someone's relying on you to pay the bills, you have to have a reserve there that's going to carry you through until you can make money,
No,
to so
100%.
and also you're going to work when no one else works. So a lot of times people think that that is a job that allows you to work your own hours. Well, in this market, you need to work. And especially if you're just starting out, you're going to be working when other people aren't working, because think about it. That's when people need to see homes. It's on the holidays and the weekends and after 5 because everybody works.
I know.
So you're going to be working when people aren't working. So you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
It's just, there's a lot of things to think about other than the fact that you just see HGTV and you think that it's like that. You also have to have a passion for it. And you have
No,
to know
absolutely.
your market. You have to know what the trends are, what comes in, what goes out. It has to be a
And I feel
passion for
like
you.
it's changing.
It changes constantly.
Like, and look, and I'm going to tell you this. Her and y'all go to Home Goods, and I'm sure you buy stuff in there for staging of
Yes.
houses. I can't stand the Home Goods. I mean, drives me crazy. But I mean, but like you're constantly, but you love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
You
always,
really have to, you have to be all in if you're going to sell real
Oh,
estate.
you have to
You
because
know,
it is a hustle.
it's not, it's a hustle, but you also have to, like
But you love it.
when
And
I
you do love
read,
it.
my hobby is reading about real estate, reading about the trends, about the colors, about the style, about what people like and don't like, what the market's doing at that time. There's just a lot that goes into it that it's not the favorite comment I get when somebody says that they want to become a realtor is they love people and they love houses. Well, that's beautiful. That's the beginning of it, but that is not the end of it. There's just a whole bigger array of things that you need to think about before you decide to make that your career.
Oh, 100%. I know, 100%. It's a lot, and you give up a lot, you know.
And I didn't start real estate until my children were grown. And that was just because I wanted to go all in.
Yeah,
And
but
so
they were gone. They
and
were
they were
in
gone.
college. They
So
weren't
it
even home.
that
And
it right.
yeah.
So it took a lot of time. Like I said, on Sundays, I worked every Sunday. And then I would work till I would show houses in the day and do paperwork till 11 at night in those times because I didn't have anybody that was working for me. So I did all my own paperwork. So I would show houses all day and then I would stay up till about 11 at night doing whatever paperwork was needed.
That is so crazy. But I mean, but that's why you're so successful.
Well,
And
again, it was
you're
just a
so
passion.
successful. And I need you to come to my house. I don't know what I need to paint my house. I don't know what colors to pick. But
We
she's
can do that.
no, but she's always putting up, like, if you follow her on Instagram, you always are putting up paint colors or ideas for this and her house is a masterpiece. It's beautiful here
Oh,
because you see it all the time and
it,
you love it.
yeah,
And I do think that is the key of being successful in whatever you do,
yeah.
regardless. Like my dad being an engineer, you know,
And
doing real
also
estate.
it's a mentoring place for me about the Lord. When I
Oh,
first
I love that you're
started,
bringing that
I
up.
really prayed that if this is where God wanted me to serve him, to show me a way. And so for me, a lot of times it's about, let's say someone really, really wants a house, especially a young little couple is really wanting this particular home and we don't get it. Or we don't sell it. It was supposed to sell. I had one
Mm.
last week. It went back on the market. It just broke the heart of the little sellers. And I told him that God had the perfect buyers for that house. It just wasn't the people that originally put the offer on. Or if we're looking for a home and we don't get it, it wasn't the right house for us. I'm confident of that because I see it happen all the time.
I love
So
that.
God really has a place in all of these plans. And so I really feel like it's a mentoring place for me.
I know that is. Um, my friend Stormy wants me to move back to the neighborhood over here. I need
Sure
to.
thing.
No, I need to, Stormy. All right, Dad, do you have any questions for Wendy?
Well, I want to tell a little story, and that was, and I know she knows about this, and she just kind of implied that she experiences this with young couples and so forth. The last time we bought a house was over 50 years ago. So we've been in this house over 50 years. And we were like 25 or 26 when we were buying that house. And we had never bought anything big ever, So we were scared. We
Yeah.
were scared to death.
Yeah.
And I just, because I was scared and I was ignorant of the whole process, I had, let me see if I can find my face and put it on here too. There I am. Okay. Yeah, because we were so scared about it. We tended not to know who to trust.
Right.
So it was intimidating experience. So it's so good to have someone that you can trust in a process like that. And so I have a question that was related to that. I don't know where I read this, but I read it maybe a decade ago, and it was something about when you're involved in this process, you might want to have your own lawyer involved uh, because the seller's probably got a lawyer on their side, or the real estate agency may have a lawyer that they can pass all the paperwork by and make sure everything's copacetic. But you, as the little guy, the 26-year-old couple who are trying to buy, uh, do they need a lawyer?
I mean, I rarely have anyone that has a lawyer overseeing the paperwork. Um, what I think that's why it's so important that you have an agent that you trust.
Right.
Because if you have confidence in your agent and they've been in the business and have the experience, they can normally walk through that process with you unless it's a very challenging um, real estate transaction that a lawyer needs to be involved. Now, once you're getting ready to go to close, you have a title attorney who's going to review the paperwork,
Okay.
who's going to review title for you, make
Mhm.
sure
Make sure it's
that,
clear.
right, make sure that to make sure that the property is clear, there's no liens, there's no issues that maybe we overlooked or weren't aware of.
Right.
So, but in the normal process, my suggestion to everybody is to get somebody, a realtor that has some experience, um, or that you really trust that can help you with the market.
There you go.
Yeah, and you've helped so many people.
Well, I think it's super important. That's why there's so many different realtors. Everybody works better with somebody different, just like there's so many different homes out there. You know, my engineers and my accountants, I have a different mindset with those people because I work extremely hard for them to trust me. They have a little bit more difficult time with trust than, let's say the first time home buyer that and you gave to me to help.
Yeah, yeah,
So it just depends on the personality that you're working with. And for some people, it may be a male agent may work better and a female agent may work better.
absolutely.
It just depends on your personality and what you're looking for in an agent.
Absolutely. Well, I think we pretty much covered everything, huh? I
Well,
hope
at
so.
least a lot of the topics that people are worried
I
about.
know, I know. The main one was like but I think that was such good advice. Like, just buy the house now. Buy that because it's true. Because the houses were going so crazy, and I've just been having this question. The few people that knew that you were coming on, that was the one question I got: the market, the market, the market.
Yeah.
And and you're so right. The houses were overpriced.
Yeah.
And there were no negotiations, but you were getting 2.5, so you were like, I'm good.
Yeah.
But you're right. They're low
And so,
now.
and now there's more of a buyer's market.
Okay.
There's more inventory than
Yeah.
there was before.
Oh, absolutely.
So, you have even a little bit more of a selection about maybe where you want to live. Sometimes in these real demanding, popular areas, and when the market is short on
Mhm.
inventory, you're not going to get into the area
No,
that you
you're
want.
not, because it's just you don't have the pick.
Yeah,
But maybe you have the pick of the crop now.
yeah, or you definitely have more to choose from. You definitely
Absolutely.
have more to choose from. And I think the other thing is important for your young little buyer, the process to just get somebody that can really walk through the process with you from the beginning to the end so that when each step happens, they're not overwhelmed by what's getting ready to happen.
Yeah, because it's look, it's so weird. My first house, I hardly remember anything, and I was overwhelmed, and I was. But by my second house, I was even more overwhelmed.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a very because you don't do it every day.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of it's your biggest purchase,
It's your biggest purchase.
and it's overwhelming.
And the other thing is right now, houses are staying on the market longer. They're
Mhm.
taking longer, which people aren't used to sell. Um, they might not have as many people viewing their properties. They may feel like, well, there must be something wrong.
Mhm.
I know you and I talked about this before we started, but if your house is priced accordingly to what the comps are showing or what your appraisal came in at or what you think it's worth, and you're not getting any showings on your house, regardless of what kind of market we have, it's priced higher than the market's willing to bear at present.
And it's funny you say that. I've seen a couple of houses in my neighborhood that have been up for a while, so I think they may be asking. Everybody's wanting to ask more, because of everything that I think
Right.
we just got so.
So you have to make
No,
some
you're
concessions
right.
there. You
No,
either
you do.
decide that I'm going to, because if your realtor is doing everything they know to get your house out there in the market
Mhm.
and it is not showing or getting any offers, it is higher than the market wants to bear. And that is really difficult and challenging for sellers right now.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
mean, I
that's
can only because you think We all love our homes,
Yeah,
and
and
we think
it's
they're
just
worth so much more than what everybody else thinks they're.
it's just a conversation to have before you decide to list your home. So
No,
that
it's a
way
good
everybody's on the
conversation.
same page. No one
Mhm.
is getting disappointed about, the process, and maybe even have a little plan of what you're going to do if you start at a certain price point, how long you're going to keep it there before you reduce it if you're not getting, any showings. A long time ago I had a statistic that I would share with my clients. I'm not really sure if it's still at that same percentage. But years ago, it was if you were getting tons of showings, but you weren't getting any offers, you were about 6% higher than you needed to be.
Oh, wow.
If you were getting no showings at all and you were doing everything that was necessary to expose your property, you were anywhere from 10 to 12% higher than the market was willing to bear.
Wow.
So if you take those numbers into consideration and when you sell that property, you figure out what that percentage is, you're pretty close to that number statistically nationwide.
That's crazy, huh?
Great
So
advice.
That is good advice. Well, thank you so much for driving
So
all the way from Lafayette, having
Yes.
that you
Yeah.
left at Ford and get here to
Anybody that
Right.
tries to negotiate that bridge in the evening,
I am so sorry you had to
please.
do that. I am so sorry.
It's fine.
No.
Thanks so
Bye-bye,
much.
Joy.
No,
I
thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much for coming on.
Absolutely.
All right, Dad, for next week, we don't know yet.
Not yet.
We got so many people that we're been talking to,
Uh-huh.
and hopefully, we might get somebody next week. We don't know, but we have somebody coming on in May already. So,
And we have a subject picked out for next week in case we don't have a guest. So
yeah,
we'll be ready to
it's a
go.
very surprising subject.
Okay. Okay. I
Yeah,
can't
you
wait
got to
to
look in on it.
Yeah, everybody could give me advice, huh?
Well, take care, everyone. We enjoyed having you here tonight. Sorry if the sound was a little messed up at the front, but it got better, is what I understand. So we'll see you all next week, we hope. God bless, and see you next Wednesday.